I will be looking at is the way in which the notion of the body plays a role in enactive thinking, and the ways in which that has also changed over since the initial developments of the inactivism in the early 1990s, but also that there is continuity in it too. So the enactive approach has always been an embodied approach to cognitive science. It's right there in the title. It was right there at the start. And from the beginning, the emphasis has been on the ways in which the body plays a constitutive and crucial role in the way the mind works and in cognition. But also from the get-go, we have had this question of what is a body precisely. Very quickly in most of the discussions about embodiment and inaction, when the body is raised, it is immediately put into interaction with its environment. And the emphasis in the discussion often quickly shifts to that interaction, with the body having a sort of a dynamic or energizing role. But precisely what we mean when we say embodied, other than the sort of physical movement gets involved, is sometimes not very clear. And how bodies have been conceptualized both implicitly and explicitly, as I've said, has changed as the enactive approach has developed. Though I would also note that while our conceptualization of embodiment has changed and been refined, it's also true that the conclusions that arise from it, from this sort of embodied perspective, have largely remained the same, or at least have been there in seed form right from the beginning as well. So as we have refined our conceptualization of the body, so it has in large part been involved in providing better and more appropriate support to the kinds of the conclusions that inactive researchers are interested in doing, or interested in sort of reaching. So what is sort of what the rest of the talk will be is essentially me unpacking some of the recent discussion about the body within the enactive literature, and focusing principally on work by Ezequiel de Paulo and various colleagues, and sort of unpacking what I think are some of the implications of that shift, which, as we'll see, will just involve a sort of a shift in perspective or a shift in emphasis, rather than a dramatic transformation of the implications of enactive thinking. But what I have also realized recently on the back of work by Nick Brancaccio, Hannah Diacher, and others, is that these developments in thinking about the body have brought enactive thinking into deeper accord with what are actually long-standing viewpoints within feminist philosophy. That is, within feminist philosophy of science, within certain aspects of sociopolitics and sociology and so on. And so I want to, having sort of been introduced to this perspective, as I sort of mentioned, following Nick Brancaccio, Hannah, and also it's sort of present in sometimes implicitly, sometimes explicitly in Ezequiel de Paulo's, Elena Cufari, and Hannah Diacher's book, Linguistic Bodies. There is a kind of a coming into resonance of the enactive theory with these feminist viewpoints. And having been introduced to it by their work, I have begun to explore it in more depth. And as Sebastian earlier asked for a certain amount of patience, that in essence this is relatively young work in progress. I am to a large extent a student in this area, rather than certainly not a teacher of it. So I would also welcome feedback, suggestions, and pointers in terms of the implications, and in terms of other potential points of resonances. So my principal aim here is to share my enthusiasm about these kinds of resonance, about the opportunities that exist in finding richer resources for thinking about the body, and how the body interacts with the environment from these feminist literatures. I think there will sort of real opportunities for productive alliances and richer discussions as we move forward.